Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee and the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. Today, we have an amazing presentation on financial aid and ways you can obtain financial aid, look at scholarships, walk through the whole process, which we know is a little bit overwhelming, but nonetheless, very important to pay for college and to make sure you are taking care of all the things that are necessary to move through your academic career. So my name is Alberto Maldonado. I'm the Assistant Director for High School Recruitment at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And today I'm joined by two of my colleagues from the Office of Financial Aid here on campus. Cindy Rendell and Jessica Lux will be entertaining you for the next 35-40 minutes. Please ask questions. Any questions is a good question, so please ask away, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Thank you so much.
Hello, like Alberto said, I am Jessica, and this is Cindy, and we're going to be talking today about financial aid. So some things we're going to go over are how to finance your education. So what is the goal of financial aid, how to apply, determining your eligibility, and then the types of aid available. So the first thing that you should know that paying for college is a shared responsibility. It's a shared responsibility between you and your parents, the state and federal government, and then some different private sources. And we'll talk about all of these as we go through the presentation. There are some regulations that we do follow, some financial aid regulations, and these are determined by the federal and state statutes and legislatures, and they establish your eligibility for most types of aid, and they apply to all schools. So later we'll talk about your EFC. Your EFC at our school is going to be the same at any school that you would apply to. But to be eligible for financial aid, you must fill out the FAFSA. So you cannot be eligible for aid, for any state or government aid, until you fill this out. And we just have a screenshot there of what that website would look like if you go there. So that's going to be the first thing we actually talk about, is how do you complete the FAFSA. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to apply for a PIN, and you can do that at www.pin.ed.gov. And both you and your parents are going to need to apply for a PIN to fill out your FAFSA. So the earliest you can file is January 1st of each year. You need to check with colleges where you plan to apply for their different deadlines and institutional requirements. Here at UWM, we have a priority deadline of March 1st, and you want to try to get everything in by then so you have the best chance of getting the different grants and things that are available. One of the things that the FAFSA does is it has the IRS data retrieval tool, and this allows you to upload tax information right into the FAFSA from the federal website. The next thing that you need to think about is who is considered a parent. So you're going to look at if you have children. If you don't, then obviously your guardian would be your parent. If you have children, then you are a parent. And then you must reapply for aid every year. So each school year you need to log back onto the FAFSA website after January 1st and reapply. Okay, so to fill out the FAFSA, you are going to need some documentation. You will need to know your social security number. You will need to know your driver's license if you have one. You will need your W-2 forms from the previous year. And then you will need your and your parents' federal income taxes. So that could be your 1040, 1040A, or your 1040EZ. And then you would need your PIN that you just applied for, your correct filing address, and the filing status for the IRS data retrieval tool. You will need any untaxed income records, your current bank statements, business and investment mortgage information, and business and farm records, stocks, bonds, and other investment records. And then you will also need documentation that you are a permanent resident or eligible non-citizen to fill out your FAFSA. Okay, so there are some pretty common mistakes that people make when they fill out their FAFSA, and what this is going to do is it's going to cause a delay in the institution receiving your information, or we won't get it, or you'll have to do it again. So some of those things are, you forget to sign it and put your PIN in at the end, which is really important. It's like one of the last steps you do before you hit submit. You mistype your social security number. If your parents are divorced or remarried, misentering that information is a pretty common mistake. Not putting in untaxed income or your U.S. income taxes paid. Incorrectly putting in household size. You need to make sure that you're counting everyone in your household. And then the same thing with the number in post-secondary education. You want to count your siblings that are also in college as part of your household and part of the number that are in post-secondary education. Not using your birth name. So if your name, for example, my name is Jessica, if I would put Jess on my FAFSA, that's going to come back as an error. And the biggest mistake you can make is not applying at all. You have to fill out your FAFSA to be able to receive government aid.
Correct.
Okay, so some other things we just want you to take note of is that you should never be paying a fee to file your FAFSA. So you want to make sure that you're going to the right website. It's FAFSA.gov, not FAFSA.com. These are two different websites. If you need help, you can call the Department of Education, but you should never be paying for these things. So if you're going to, financial aid nights or those kinds of things, you shouldn't be paying for financial aid assistance. This is something that should be offered to you for free. For example, if you come into our office and need help with your FAFSA, one of the student workers will be happy to sit down and work on it with you if you are having trouble, but never pay for someone to help or to fill it out for you. One of the really cool events that we have here is College Goal Wisconsin, and these events happen all over the state, and it's a free program to help families complete the FAFSA. This year it is February 22nd and 23rd, and you can check the website to find out where in your area that it'll be taking place. There are scholarship drawings at each site, so that's kind of cool, and it kind of gives you that chance to sit down and talk with somebody to find out how to fill out your FAFSA and then see what other options are available. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is your expected family contribution, and you're going to hear this a lot. It's called EFC. This is a number that is part of the federal methodology.
Methodology.
Thank you. Established by U.S. Congress. And the only way you can get an EFC, again, is if you file your FAFSA. So some of the main things that determine your EFC are your income and your parents' income, assets, family size, the number in college, and the age of the parents. Okay, you will see the little note down there that adjustments can be made to your EFC due to verification process, which we will talk about, or special circumstances that limit your ability to pay. So if something happened since you filed your FAFSA, then you would need to come in and speak to a financial aid representative. Okay, so we talked about this earlier, but we're just kind of go through how to use it. So one of the really cool features that the FAFSA offers is the data retrieval tool. This allows you to pull in your tax information without having to look it up or try to put it in yourself and maybe put the numbers in wrong. So what you need to do to use this is you have to have a valid social security number and that FAFSA PIN number that you applied for earlier, and then you must have your 2013 taxes completed. So either your 1040, 1040A, or 1040EZ, and this is available 2 weeks after completing your 2013 tax return. So you need to give it just a little bit of time. One of the biggest things for this is you need to have your correct address. So it says look up your address through USPS.com. That's just a helpful tip in that if you put the address in wrong, the data retrieval tool won't work.
Correct.
And so you want it to work because it's the easiest way to go about importing your tax information. So there are going to be times where you're going to be ineligible to use the data retrieval tool. What happens when that happens? So if you have any of these circumstances, if you're married but you file taxes separately, if students or parents that got married after December 31st of 2013, you filed an amended tax return, or you filed Puerto Rican or foreign tax returns. Also, if you owe taxes, you may not be able to use the DRT until August. So that's something you need to remember.
All right. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah.
The second portion of filling out your FAFSA is talking a little bit about assets and how the FAFSA looks at them. There are certain assets that you should not include and certain assets that you do need to include. Of those assets that are going to be included on the FAFSA, your cash, savings, and checking accounts, your current balance as of the date you fill out the FAFSA. Any business, land, buildings, equipment, inventory, etc. for companies with 100 or more employees, you will want to include that value as the indicated spot on the FAFSA is asking for. If you have any education IRAs and college saving plans, 529 plans, here in Wisconsin we do have EdVest accounts, any type of funding that your parents or grandparents or other family members have put into those accounts will need to be included as well. Assets that are not included, the home in which you live in, including the family farm, if that is your main residence, that does not need to be included. Value of life insurance and retirement plans, so for example, pensions, annuities, KIOs, non-education IRA funds, etc. Also, you are not required to include personal vehicles. Those are all costs and assets that most students and families already have. If you have any questions about what assets may or may not be included, please feel free to contact your school's financial aid office. Here at UWM, we are more than happy to help you out with what you do need to include and what's not included. Additionally, if you're unsure of what balance you should be using, please give us a call as well. Next, we're going to talk about the financial need, which is one of the determinants of how we determine eligibility for financial aid. Financial need is defined as your cost of attendance minus that EFC, that expected family contribution that is generated by the FAFSA, and that equals your financial need. So for example, the cost of attendance is a budget built for students who are going to school for the academic year, and we'll talk about that next. So after you file the FAFSA, the results are sent electronically to the college that the student has selected, so you can select up to 10 and request for additional slots. One part of the process is that students may be required to verify the information that was submitted on the FAFSA. This is a random selection process, and this is just to ensure accuracy of the information on the FAFSA to make sure we are in fact accurately awarding you to your maximum eligibility. After the student is admitted to a college, a financial aid package will be prepared. You will be notified depending upon your college's notification process of exactly what you got and the process for accepting or declining those awards accordingly. If you feel that you qualify for any special circumstances, please feel free to contact the college financial aid office directly. So what exactly is financial aid? Financial aid can encompass a lot of different things. In particular, it encompasses grants, scholarships, loans, and different employment opportunities. And we'll talk about each of those next. For more information specifically on what is available in terms of grants, loans, and scholarships for UWM, please feel free to visit the financial aid website. We have a wonderful website built out for each particular type of funding for you to gain more information, and this is the address for our financial aid office. So there is a difference between need versus merit aid, and this is a big difference on defining grants versus scholarships. Aid that is based on financial need, meaning students that are the neediest based on their EFC determined by the FAFSA. Most government grants are considered need-based. Subsidized loans are also considered need-based, as well as federal work study. Aid based on merit are typically academic and athletic scholarships and some government grants. Aid based on merit typically looks at a student's ability to complete schoolwork, GPA requirements. A lot of athletic scholarships are sought out for their performance with athletics. Some scholarships require merit and need. So a lot of scholarships out there will look at students' EFC and also their GPA in determining eligibility for those scholarships. Okay. Gift aid. Gift aid is one that is the most sought out, and gift aid are grants and scholarships. Particularly right now offered by the federal government is the federal Pell Grant, the federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or SEOG, and the TEACH Grant. Here in Wisconsin, we do have some state-based grants. They are administered by the Higher Education Approval Board and other agencies here, and one of them is the Wisconsin Higher Education Grant. Additionally, we do have some institutional grants and scholarships that are provided by various endowment funds that are received from outside agencies. And we also receive private scholarships available from other organizations outside of UWM. Just a reminder, gift aid is money that is not required to be repaid, such as loans. They do need to be repaid, and that they are determined, eligibility is determined by the individual agency that is giving out that money. So for federal grant aid, it is determined by your EFC. For state aid, again, EFC and some other qualifications, institutional and private will be looking at their specific terms of criteria. Self-help aid, also known as aid that you seek out on an individual basis. The most common form of self-help aid is loans. There is the Federal Direct Loan Program, Stafford loans, subsidized and unsubsidized. Keeping in mind that subsidized loans, interest is paid by the federal government while you are in school. Unsubsidized loans accrues interest while in school. There's also the Federal Perkins Loan, direct plus loans for parents to take out to help students with their tuition and education-related expenses. Also, other state or institutional loans, as well as private alternative loans that are offered by private banks. Additionally, other self-help aid that you can find is through employment, such as federal work study. Federal work study offered here on campus is managed through our office, and students can inquire if they are eligible and if they are able to receive work study funding. Federal direct loans, I did touch on this a little bit more in the last slide. There are two types of direct loans, subsidized and unsubsidized. Again, interest is not accruing while in school for subsidized, it does for unsubsidized. The current interest rate as of the 13-14 academic year, so any loan originated on or before July 1st of 2013 will have an interest rate of 3.86% right now. Please note that interest rates for 2014-2015 academic year have not been released at this time, and they are subject to change. Loan limits, these are annual loan limits for the academic year that we would be looking at when awarding a student. For a freshman, they have a total of $5,500 in loans, no more than $3,500 in the subsidized loan category. So they would have an additional $2,000 once they were awarded the $3,500 in subsidized loans. As students progress through their academic career and meet certain academic standing, such as a sophomore, junior, senior, or going fifth year and beyond, their annual loan limits each year increase. The aggregate limits for students, there is a limit that they can take out in their undergraduate career. So their cumulative maximum for dependent undergraduate student is $31,000, with no more than $23,000 of that in subsidized loans. So what are the costs? What are things that you need to be considering when you are going to school? First and foremost, tuition and fees. You need to know exactly what your tuition charges are going to be and fees associated to that. A lot of schools do charge additional fees specifically for courses. There are additional course fees. For example, some classes that have labs, they might have a lab fee that you may be assessed. Additionally, you want to consider room and board. If you are a freshman that will be living on campus in the dorms, you will want to consider your housing fees, any meal plan fees, and any administrative costs for that. Additionally, you do want to be aware of any deposits that you need to make on housing, meal plan, or tuition prior to the school starting, and prepare for that. Additionally, if you require any type of transportation, for example, bus passes, subway, rail passes, passes for cars, parking, gas, insurance, things like that, you want to consider that all part of your costs. Additionally, don't forget about books and supplies. Here at UWM, books are paid for out of your pocket. They are not included in your cost of tuition, and we do not offer currently a loan program through our bookstore. So you do want to consider those costs as well. Additionally, paper, pens, pencils, notebooks, highlighters. If you are going to need a laptop or a computer, you want to consider that as well. Additionally, any miscellaneous living expenses. Anything for laundry money, food money above and beyond your meal plan if you're living on campus, any type of cash on hand that you would like to have if you're going to go see a movie with friends, go out for dinner or lunch, any other type of cost that you might consider. What does all that mean? All that means is what we are looking at when we refer to your cost of attendance. So when we look at your entire academic year, this is what we are estimating the cost for you to attend school. This is a huge factor when we do look at financial aid eligibility when we talk about need. Financial need does vary by school. Each school has a different set of tuition charges, fees, and other factors going into their cost of attendance. And we broke it down a little bit here that it can vary. So for school number 1, cost of attendance is roughly $38,000. EFC stays the same for all 3 schools because it doesn't matter which school you are attending, your EFC will remain the same. So what we do when we're looking at financial need, we take the cost of attendance minus your EFC, and that equals your need. So very clearly, school number 1 is much more expensive, minus the EFC. The financial need is $20,000. For school number 2, the cost of attendance is a lot less, minus the EFC, so the financial need is quite significantly less than school number 1. And for school number 3, cost of attendance is $15,000, minus the EFC, so whenever we see a negative need, we reference it as a 0 need. So what does this mean? For financing, other financing options, we are looking at plus loans, alternative loans, monthly payment plans, home equity loans. When we are looking at other additional funding on top of something, eligible financial aid, we are looking not to exceed that cost of attendance number. Going back to the other financing options, plus loans are offered for parents for undergraduate students. This is based on credit, and they do need to apply. If a parent is approved for the plus loan, we can take out a loan up to their cost of attendance. If a parent is denied the plus loan, it does open up additional unsubsidized loan eligibility for the student. Alternative loans are sought from private lenders. It can be a bank of your choosing or a bank that we can work with. And it is also based on credit. Eligibility criteria is also based on that lender, so it is up to you to seek out those fund sources. Most schools offer monthly payment plans or installment options. You'll want to check with your specific college or university to verify how they would want to work with a payment plan for you. Additionally, parents may want to look at home equity loans. Oftentimes these might be a little bit lower in interest rate than a plus loan or an alternative loan. It's just something as a family you'll want to talk over and find out what's going to financially be the best fit for you. Other sources of funding that we often recommend to students, parental affiliations. So if your parent belongs to any type of labor union or their employer offers employer reimbursement for dependent children, it's a great resource to look into. Additionally, religious and community organizations, local junior leagues, Women of America, local legions, VFWs might offer local scholarships, so it's a great place to start to look for additional funding. Additionally, clubs and civic groups such as Rotary, junior women's clubs, things like that, they also might fundraise to help provide scholarships to graduating seniors from high school and incoming freshmen. Additionally, civic organization scholarships could come from your local high school organization. You can find information from your high school guidance counselor, local public library, or any additional resources that might be available, particularly scholarship agencies in your area. There are also private business scholarships that you'll want to take a look at. If you have a large company in your area, you'll want to check out maybe with their HR department to see if they offer any type of scholarships for you. Additional government resources, corporations for national and community service, such as AmeriCorps, they do offer assistance for education. Veterans benefits, if you are a veteran or your parent is a veteran, there is the possibility for benefit. So you'll want to talk to your parent or you'll want to talk to the VA to find out what's available for you. If your local campus offers ROTC programs, there may be scholarships and or stipends available through those programs. You'll want to check that out. The Bureau of Indian Affairs grants, they also offer grants and scholarships for students. Please check with your local tribe office to see what is available in your area. State divisions of vocational rehabilitation, such as DVR Workforce Development, they might also offer opportunity for funding your education as well. Health and Human Service loan and scholarship programs. There are some nursing loan forgiveness programs out there, some grant programs out there. So you'll want to check with local and national health and human service agencies. Additionally, this is a great resource that you can access. This is studentloans.gov. This is, studentaid.ed.gov. My apologies, studentaid.ed.gov. This is a great resource for all students to go and check out. And up at the top, you can see that there are several questions available for students to click on and review. How do you go about preparing for college? What are some things and checklists that you can do while you might be a sophomore, junior, or senior in high school right now? And what type of aid can I get? Those are websites that are available that can explain the different types of aid in detail, go a little bit more specifically into detail about the grants and loans that are available through the federal government. How do I qualify for aid? These would contain links for you to link to the FAFSA, link to studentloans.gov to complete your MPN, your Master Promissory Note and Entrance Counseling, and additional information on the specific qualifications for financial aid. How do I apply for aid? Obviously, fill out your FAFSA. Another link for you to go ahead and apply. And how do I manage my loans? This will link you to different resources to access your loan history, to see how much loans you have taken out thus far for your career, and also provide information on repayment plans, interest rates, consolidation information, additionally how to get in contact with your lender or servicer if you have questions or concerns. Couple of helpful websites to remember. You might want to bookmark these as you get ready for school, as you're receiving information from your school. The top one is FAFSAforecaster.ed.gov. That is a great way to kind of predict what your costs are going to be, how much loan debt you might have upon graduation, and how you might go about repaying those loans. PIN.ed.gov, that is the website where you will request a PIN to go ahead and sign your FAFSA, your MPN, and complete your entrance counseling. Next one is FAFSA.gov. That is the official website to apply for financial aid.
It's a big one.
It's a big one, so that's one you want to bookmark so that you can reference that every year. Just a reminder, you do need to fill out your FAFSA every year in order to remain eligible. Next one down, collegegoalwisconsin.org is specifically geared towards Wisconsin residents. However, the College Goal, I think it is a national program in quite a few states across the country. So you will want to check out local websites to see if there is an event in your area if you are not from the state of Wisconsin. Studentaid.ed.gov is one we just went over. Knowhowtogo.org and goingtocollege.org are two very great resources in preparing students for going to school. Highly recommended for anyone looking to go to school, geared towards graduating seniors, sophomores and juniors who are looking at college education in their future. Okay. And we don't have any questions yet. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and hang out for a little while to see if we have any questions. Please feel free to contact our office with any of those. And thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you. We had a question to go back to our last slide. Absolutely. There we go. We had a question to go over some frequently asked questions that we often get in our office. One of the most common questions is referring to the EFC and how that is determined. Again, going back to the income, assets, people in the household, and those attending in post-secondary education, those all go into a calculation that specifically generates that EFC. And again, if you feel that you have special circumstances that could potentially change that EFC, please feel free to contact the financial aid office and we'll walk you through that process.
Yeah, the biggest thing in that is even if you think it's something that won't make a difference, or someone's not working and they previously had been, but you're like, oh, it probably won't make a difference, still contact the financial aid office because it really could make a difference in the aid you are eligible for and kind of determining that EFC. I think another thing that we get quite a lot is when you see your cost of attendance and it's this huge number and you're like, oh my god. So for UWM, you're like, if you see 23,000, you're like, I didn't think it was $23,000 to go to UWM. And don't worry, it's not. But that is calculated so you can base your award on that. So the only things you would actually pay are your tuition and your room and board and your meal plan would be the only cost that would be sent to the university. The other things we just kind of calculate, on average, how much do students spend on books or miscellaneous expenses, transportation, to just kind of build you a nice little estimate of what it could cost for the year, and then to be able to award aid to try to kind of bridge the gap in those things.
Correct. One of the nice things you can do with that cost of attendance is oftentimes colleges and universities will post that out on their website. So it can help you budget for the academic year on what you might need in terms of miscellaneous related expenses. Again, don't forget to include books. That is the number one question we get right as classes are starting is, I thought my financial aid was going to cover books. So make sure you are factoring that in. Financial aid can cover books if there's enough left over after covering your cost of tuition and fees. If you don't have enough financial aid to cover your tuition and fees, we can talk about additional ways for covering books.
So we just got another question in. It says, if I am an out-of-state student after a year, can I apply for in-state tuition, or do I have to pay out-of-state for 4 years? Do you want to take that one?
Sure. Traditionally, residency is established upon admission. You can apply for residency after a year, and there's a specific process for that in our admission and recruitment office. So certainly, yes, you can apply for in-state tuition.
That was a good question.
That was an excellent question. One we often get.
Yeah.
I know, I'm trying to think.
I would think the only other thing we can really stress is that if you have questions or if you have a balance because you didn't have enough financial aid to pay off a balance and it's sitting there, come see us as soon as possible. Do not wait till the end of a semester and then come see us in a panic, because then we're all in a panic trying to figure out what we can do to try to help you. The sooner you come and see us, the better it is for everyone. Probably the more resources we can give you. So just if you have any questions or you don't think your financial aid is going to cover, or like we talked about before, if you have any special circumstances, make appointments to see a financial aid advisor as soon as those things come up. Don't put it off.
Correct. And again, can't stress enough, the earlier you file your FAFSA here at UWM, the better chance you have of receiving a lot of our state-based aid that could potentially run out as we award students. We are given a specific allocation each year, and once that allocation is gone, we have to stop awarding. So the sooner the better. Trying to think of what other questions we often get in our office. The minimum requirement for credits to be financial aid eligible. Financial aid regulations say that you must be enrolled at least half-time to be eligible for financial aid. Here at UWM, that would mean about 6 credits for an undergraduate and 4 credits for a master's level and 3 credits for those who are dissertating. Additionally, another question I just thought of, this brought up a really great question. When do I have to start repaying my loans? Your repayment starts on your federal Stafford loans 6 months after you graduate, drop below half time, or withdraw from school. That's a really great question. You will, as you go through the process, you will receive notification. Disbursement was made on your loans, money was applied to your account. As you get close to your expected graduation date, you'll often receive notifications from your servicer or your lender letting you know, hey, we've been notified you are graduating. Talk to us about your plans for repayment. Is there something we can do to help you? It is really, really important to pay attention to who your servicer or your lender is on your loans. You'll want to keep them updated for any moves that you make. So address information, contact information, that is key to avoiding default on those loans.
I think another thing that's specific to UWM that we kind of touched on a little, because we talked about you could be selected for verification and you want to check with your institution, but for us, really get familiar with your PAWS account and have access to your UWM email, because that's how we're going to communicate with you. So on your PAWS account, if you are selected for verification or we need any additional items for financial aid, it'll come up on your to-do list. And if you actually click on it, it'll tell you exactly what you need and actually give you the phone number to contact. So again, know your PAWS, know your email, and if you're not coming to UWM, then know where you can find those sources, because a lot of schools communicate that way. And that's important because you want to get those things taken care of as soon as they pop up.
Additionally, it is also important, if you are attending UWM or any other school for that matter, is to monitor your student account to make sure that your funding has been applied to your account, your tuition and fees, and perhaps your room and board or your meal plan are fully covered. A lot of schools out there and here at UWM will not allow you to register for the next semester until your prior balances are cleared. So that is one thing to keep in mind, to keep monitoring. Again, going back to the email, as you go through the semester, check your email. A lot of campuses require students to use their campus-provided email as their formal communication with staff and professors. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Any other questions out there?
We're good.
All right. Well, thank you for attending, and please feel free to contact our office with any questions or concerns that you might have.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great day.